All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the state in Nigeria. Yes, yes, yes. It's a very emotional one for me today, but I'm going to try and gather my thoughts together because the people whose works and talent distract us, from our pains and our sorrows by making us happy, even in momentarily, shouldn't be the one left with their pain alone. And of course, I believe that they need to know that they are not alone as well. And Nigeria is hard enough. Nigeria is not for the stiff, for it's for the stiff and of course for the tough, especially when you're living in this side of town in Nigeria as well. Let me try and personalize it a little bit. But yes, sometimes you, the entertainers, and other artists help us to get through by the time we listen to your music, by the time we hear some of your jokes, and we're able to move on with our issues or our challenges. But our story today is about a lost talent. Before then, again, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener and the chief host of this platform, Kike Atanda-Owo. And yes, I think it's important for us to quickly check what we on this day in history segment asked for us. And when I return, the conversation will continue. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. I think the message today on this day initial segment is about the IPOB, that have their own struggle and they've had the right to, mourn the loss of their fellow countrymen on the sad events of this day in history segment. And of course, it reminds us of how committed that they are to their own struggle as well. What is the more important thing for me in this message of today on this day in history segment is about unity, it's about peace, and of course, the safety of over 200 million Nigerians. Whatever runs against this may not be counted as a good cause. So I want to just use this opportunity to also, applaud people to please come together, continue to stand in unity, and destruction is the last thing that we need in this country. I think moving on, it's better for us to get a quick message from my sponsors. Stay with me, I'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We live in odd times, and these days I feel that the death of one could be a colossal loss for a community, an industry, and even a nation at large. And I want to say that especially when it comes to the soul that is fast rising talent, yes. And this is the reflection from the death of Ireoluwa Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, 27-year-old boy, the music entertainer who passed on Tuesday. Many ascriptions and hearsays, have been, led out to his death, but the most contingent factor that is common for many artists and superstars, around the world is the mental health, their well-being, and I felt that is the best topic to touch on today. How bad did his mental health deteriorate is a question I'm asking in pain, where the record label, disagreements also in terms of contributing to the factor to his death is also what I want to bring to fore today. How well are artists taking care of their health, especially when it comes to, not only their physical appearance, but also, mentally. And those are all that we'll be touching on today. And I think one of the things I'm also going to be touching on today is also the path, the role of family, colleagues, fans, industry, in all of this that makes an artist have a good support system. Yeah, that's the word to use right now. On the live show today, we'll be discussing all of these experiences about the highs and the lows, of a career in the spotlight, including how mental health factors into the equation is more important. I will look into all the responsibilities, of the artists to their well-being. And what else again would I be touching on? I think I'll just be touching on all sorts, because the music business means so much, and it has improved, drastically in this side of our town, Nigeria, and it means that, there are quite a number of people coming in, here out, and all of that. But guys, let me hold my breath. And before I go further, I have one of my, I'll call him my colleague, my friend, my brother, who is going to be joining me today to throw light on this. He's very experienced in this field, and of course our guest could not make it today because of one emergency that came up. But many thanks again, Kyle Debakari, for doing this with me. It's a pleasure to have you on the platform. How are you doing today? Let's start from there.
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show. I've always watched the show from afar, and I've loved it, and I'm glad to be part of this today.
Thank you so much. How can I say that I've been on the show too? Can I just infuse that as well? All right, I was supposed to actually play what's it called, one of Mohbad's song, but I think I'll just save that till when we're ending the show, because first off, let me start from how did this news, how did it hit you? How did you feel? How the loss, what does it mean to the entire nation with all that is happening, and also the industry at the moment? We've seen all sorts of, messages, well wishes, people pouring in all sorts. What does it mean when it comes to even having a good character?
So here's the thing. For when the news came out yesterday, day before, it was so, how do I put this now? It was so difficult to swallow, because Mohbad is a fast-rising talent. He's one of the people that we know that he's going to be very successful in the music industry, and it was harder because he had been going through a lot of challenges over time. We knew that he had problems with his record label. He had come out on his social media page, on live, on Instagram. He had complained so many times. And so many people know that this guy has a lot of talent, but he's not been given the right opportunities to thrive the way he's supposed to. So it was very sad to hear such a news, and especially to hear the way that he passed on. It was really, really sad. And I'm glad you mentioned that the conversations today are going to be about mental health issues, because there's so many artists within the space of the music industry today that are going through the same challenges, but not enough people are talking about it, because in this part of the world, we really don't understand the intricate details or the problems that are associated with mental health issues.
All right, I'm glad that you said in this part of the world, because we live in a religious world, so to speak. We hide on the religion in this part of time. Sometimes, even when you're going through problems, you see your family people will say, your parents will say, must have yes, for my non-Yoruba listeners, they'll say, don't tell anybody, they all have their problems, just go to pastor, let's do this. I remember vividly, even from all the, different hearsays that we see online, how his wife actually came out to confirm that, he was going through depression. And I like the fact that one of my brother, show promoter, Paul Okoye, also confirmed that, while other people also mentioned that while he was in UK, he opened up about all the things that he has been struggling with, and also from his past label and all of that, And I would like us to touch a little bit on that, because I feel that depression and mental breakdown are rampant with artists today.
Yes.
And I would like you to actually, touch on it, because I know that you interact with a lot of them. They come on your show as well. What are the causes, from all your own point of view, with your interaction with them thus far? And with your interaction with them thus far, what's your view on it?
So the challenge is, most of these artists, because of the talent and the creativity they have, they sometimes are in a hurry to sign contracts. So they sign slave contracts, right? And you can see some artists, they'll be given some peanuts, a small amount of money, because they think that if they join a record label, the labels will help them promote their music. Now, the labels do promote the music, but the labels take a huge chunk of the money. And this is what the artists suffer from. So eventually, in the first year of the contract, when the artist sees that they're making so much money, they're doing so well, but they're not making, they're making so much money for the label, but they're not making money for themselves, it becomes a problem. And then they want to leave that contract. But because they've signed a binding slave contract, it affects them. And then it starts to affect their mental health. You start to see them, turn into all sorts of vices, like using drugs, and then also turning to social media. But a contract is a contract. It's always important to honor your agreements. So the record label knows that they're making so much money from you, so they will hold you and bind you to that contract. And we've seen that with so many Nigerian artists. And this is one of the reasons that even the up and coming artists that we don't know that are thriving, they're still struggling with, this is one of the reasons why they turn to drugs. It affects their mental health.
All right, many thanks again for that insight right there. You mentioned two things that I want to touch on. The fact that you're talking about drugs, the fact that they sign contracts that is that they feel that they are being extorted, so to speak.
Yes.
But should I say that, could it be because of their half-baked education? Because the reason why I'm saying half-baked education, most of these artists, let's be real on this platform, they are not as educated as you expect them to be.
Yes.
And they have some sort of entitlement that comes with it, that because I'm doing well, therefore I'm on something. But let me put that aside, because you mentioned on drug, and many artists today, they deal with heavy demands and difficulties, or will I say challenges, during their careers. Some of them, like you said, they go into drugs and harmful substance and all of that. We have a case of a solid star as well, who also went into drugs because of mental challenges and and all of that. And I also like to touch on the fact that, by statistics, one of my sponsors, apart from the fact that they are my sponsors, Nigerian breweries, they say that most people do not actually all these artists do not patronize what's it called, the product anymore, because they feel that the alcohol in it is not hard enough on them. Hence the reason why you see that they are going into all sort of whatever I don't want to mention right now. So I'd like you to at least what's your advice for those other artists who are coming up in terms of the guidance you want to offer to them when it comes to their music? How can they navigate that highs and the lows of their music businesses without jeopardizing their mental health, without the fact that sometimes I feel that they need to understand that it's time for them to actually get a lawyer before they sign anything with any record label?
It's good you started with that, getting a lawyer. It's very important. In fact, getting a lawyer is more important than getting a manager, because when you get a lawyer, the lawyer is going to tell you the terms of the contract that you're signing. And then when you sign that contract, I always advise that artists that are joining a new label should start by signing a 2-year contract first. And then if the contract favors both parties, you can extend that contract. But sadly, in this part of the world, and because of the lack of education that you mentioned, these artists would rather sign 4 or 5-year contracts. And when they start to realize that they're being ripped off by the record labels, they turn to, drugs. And some of the drugs that they turn to are not just even hard drugs. Some of them might be prescription pills, because they're trying to deal with so much anxiety. You see a person in a club, for example, you expect that this person is well-to-do, he's on TV, his music is everywhere, but the person does not have any money. So they deal with a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and it's important that they understand that the road to success or fame is not a straight path. You need to follow selected, guided steps to do that. And having a lawyer is one thing, having an intelligence manager is another thing.
Absolutely.
And then also education is very important.
Very important.
You mentioned earlier that the brands, they want to take harder substances. Also, that can be associated with it can be associated with trying to level up in a way. They want to take a higher brand of drink as opposed to the regular local ones, not just because they're harder, but because it's associated.
Nigerian product is not a local one.
Oh, no.
It's all over the place. What do you mean?
So when I say local,
international brand.
When I say local, I mean locally produced here. Locally produced here, not local in terms of quality. Locally produced here in Nigeria. So, but generally, that's part of the misconceptions that some of these artists have, and it's best that they have someone that guides them. So, generally, a good lawyer, an intelligent manager, very important. Very important.
All right. Many thanks again for that elaborate submission right there. I want to touch on something that I feel that in this side of town, they've, I don't know if they've messed up with the brain of the men. Apologies to the men out there. Kenny Black was on my show yesterday, my radio show on Inspiration FM yesterday. and he said something very profound. You know, that he mentioned that, you know, men feel ashamed to cry, to show their vulnerability. And this is where I feel that issues of depression comes in, if you ask me. You know, they try to hide their emotions and bottling things up to themselves alone without actually looking for somebody that they can actually, you know, open up to. I would like you to touch on that, because I feel that our African men right now need to understand that it's okay to cry. It's okay for you to break down. It's okay for you to show your vulnerability. A problem shared is half solved.
Yes.
So what's your advice for them? Because I know that, you know, our parents, our grandparents have been brainwashed.
Yes.
No, don't cry. Men don't cry. Don't do this. My dear, I tell my son when I scold him, cry.
You can cry.
It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry.
It's okay
After
to cry.
scolding him, then I go to hug him, because
Yes.
I want to teach him that empathy is very important when you see anybody down. But it's still okay for you to cry as a man. What's your advice for men out there?
Definitely. I mean, men can show their vulnerability. It's important that we do. And like you've mentioned, in time past, you know, now man you be, you can't cry. You know, those kind of things have affected a lot of men. It's affected their emotional well-being. You know, there's a saying, emotional damage. It causes a lot of emotional damage to some people. And also the churches, and I say this with a lot of respect, churches, religious institutions, they also don't help, because we live in an environment that's all about patriarchs. You know, men are seen as the leaders, and it's true. This is true. However, it's okay to be vulnerable.
It's true, but a lot of women are actually standing up now to be in the role of a leader.
So it's, and that's why I said the world is becoming diverse and it's becoming equal, right? It's becoming balanced. So it's okay to know that, hey, I can be vulnerable, I can be emotional, I can show my emotions, and I can't always get it right. It's okay to always ask for help as well. Because we live in this part of the world, it's difficult for a man to ask for help, because he feels like he's the leader of his home, he's responsible for this and responsible for that. And that's majorly the problem that we have. But thankfully, the coming generation, you know, parents will start to tell their children, like you do with your son, that it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to cry. And it'll transcend downwards.
Though you must be very careful to who you want to show your vulnerability with.
Definitely.
We live in a world that people also can capitalize on your vulnerability.
True.
So as men, you need the good support system to show your vulnerability. Not everybody must know your weak points, because it can be used against you.
Definitely. But because of the world we live in, thankfully, the world is becoming a more intelligent place. So I think it's always easy to know. There's something called the gut feeling. You get to know the person that is for you and the person that is, you know, trying to stab you at the back or something along those lines. But generally, it's good to be emotional, to be vulnerable, and also to open up to people.
Fantastic one right there. Before we go on a quick break, you know, let me ask this last question. And my question is about, you know, on my radio show again, I'm referring to you because this was the topic that I treated yesterday as well. You know, in the entertainment industry, there's this culture of artists, you know, spending extravagantly on physical appearance. I can tell, because I know a lot of luxurious things, because I buy one too. I like good things of life, you know, so when I see one, I know the fake from the original, trust me. You know, and these artists, they spend, just an ordinary t-shirt can cost 1.8, almost 2 million naira. Just an ordinary shoe, I don't say ordinary shoe, I mean, you know, a luxurious shoe can cost maybe $4,000. You know how much that is in the currency inflation right now when it comes to dollar and naira. Do you understand? Why is it that all these artists right now, they spend so much money on physical appearance, and they cannot invest so much money in their own health, their own mental health? What kind of, how do we reorientate them for them to understand that those international artists that you see there, they have great support system. They have a doctor who is holding on to their itinerary when you're coming to your next appointment in the hospital. They have another person who is a fitness whatever that is on them in terms of physical exercise and the like. Name it, even the kind of nutrition that they need to eat and what, and the timing. How do we reorientate our artists? Because this is really painful for me. I do not want us to hear another loss, a bright young man that I feel that our children, it's a fact.
Yes.
It's very, I just cannot break down. And then one of these artists, my father so much loved the guy. I always tell my mother that over 70, you know what old? You know, my daddy said, call me GT, don't even call me daddy. But that's the story for another day.
Yeah.
What's your advice for that?
So generally, there are two things you've mentioned, and I also want to say one thing. It's good to look It's important to look really well.
Yeah, I
and
know.
there's a saying, M.I. himself said it. He said in a song, he said, how you arrive is the price that you are. So when you wear an expensive Gucci shirt, for example, people will respect you. People that know quality will see it. They will respect you. The bigger brands that need you will call you for that. But at the same time, in as much as you're buying expensive things that help you to boost your confidence, you also need to find ways to invest. Now, finding ways to invest comes by having those people I mentioned earlier, intelligence manager, intelligent lawyer, and at the same time, institutions as well need to start. For example, if I run an insurance company, or I run maybe a talent management agency, what I would do is if I find an artist that's promising and talented, as opposed to waiting for that person to blow his money, I would send my representatives to the person and say, these are investment portfolios that you can invest in. So it's time that businesses, the marketers, start to reach out to some of these people. For example, there's a popular reality TV show that's currently ongoing right now. I'm sure that when the winner comes out with all that money that the person wins, there will be 2 or 3 institutions that quickly run to that person and say, why don't you invest X amount of money in this, invest X amount. And this is what institutions need to start doing. And also, the managers need to look out for those opportunities and say, this is what you should invest in, this is how you should spend your money, so that there will be a fallback if we don't have rainy days anymore. Yeah, so things like that.
It's really important. Sometimes when, I remember when I took my husband to the dentist and he saw the amount I was doing, I said, Kike, look at you. Your teeth have been like this for many years. But guys, let's go on a quick break before I throw my family under the bus. Stay with me, I'll be right back. Glad to know you're still with us. In case you just tuned into the show, this is Real Talk with Kike, and of course we've been talking about Mohbad's death, the challenges artists face in their career, and how to deal with challenges that comes their way during the eyes of their career. And of course, we've been talking about the pains as well, to dig deep into depression, crisis, and how they can get better in terms of the fraction or disagreement by their colleagues or the record label. And we have also looked into would I say the protection, in terms of, ensuring them while they are in their rising career as well, and what else would you talk about as well? I think generally as a whole, in terms of accustomed ways of us doing things in Africa. And my special guest today, Kayode Bakare, who has been actually, talking about this, and he understands what happens in the music industry. And of course, I must say many thanks with all that you shared thus far with us. Let me quickly use this opportunity to open the phone lines. Remember that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number 080-988-77400, showing on your screen right now. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook or YouTube, both on Real Talk with Kike and on Silverbird platform, my media partners. Many thanks for all the collaboration over the years. So, okay, let me come to you, because in my head right now, I just feel that we should touch on our culture. I know our artists, they have this embrace contracts or agreements with their managers, with their record labels. Even we see how skit makers, sign contracts on frequent basis, showing their own acceptance for legal management and the likes and all of that. I'm wondering, skit maker, it doesn't make sense to me. But the other side of this coin is the fact that our culture, is having mental aspects that I feel that, we need to throw more light on, especially when it comes to the periodic basis of all the contracts that they sign and all of that. Because right now we want to copy the Western world. We want to go about how they do things. We are trying to put structure in place, but the structure in place is still interwoven with our religious beliefs and how, we put sentiment into things and the likes and others. So how close are we to break away from this ill culture that comes back to haunt us?
Well, sadly, we're not close. But the good news is that there are smaller institutions that are springing up. 10 years ago, there were no talent management agencies. Everything was on autopilot. I have talent, you're my friend, you're my brother, manage me, let's see how it goes. But now we're having people that are setting up talent management agencies, record labels are appointing managers. So we're closer to it. The education is there online now. We have international bodies. We have international record labels coming down to Nigeria, doing master classes for some of these artists. The sad truth is that the grassroots artists have not been able to enjoy some of these things, but in time, I think that they will. And we see that the music industry is constantly expanding. We see what Rema, Burna Boy, they're doing all over the world right now, and people now know that they can make more money from this, and they can do that by partnering with the educated people who are in touch with the elites and the brands that can connect them together.
Fantastic one. I think another thing that I would like to touch on right now that I feel that is worthy of discussion is the will aspects, writing of will. Because I feel that we leave this will thing behind and say, oh, we are not above 60 or 70 years. Do you want to kill me? If I raise it with my husband, I'll that's what I'm saying. You know, and I feel that we live in a world today that once you start acquiring any little property, it could be gold. It's not until you acquire property. Gold is money.
Yes.
The other sort I'm saying, well, how do we reorientate them that even from the young age, once you start making little money, you know, we have a caller, YouTube from Lagos. YouTube, many thanks for calling. What's your contribution on the topic at hand? Are you there?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kike. You know, I'm always loving your program. Talking about the voice in whose side, the music voice. It's good to have patience. If you find something for labor for somebody, supposed to have patience to endure any year where they write this. You are not supposed to in the middle jump out. They want to be your own. That's number one. Number two, for whatever the people say in the music, it's not only drug. Envy so much. Envy too much for them. To buy high blood everything, carry their sex, it's not good. It's better this year, let them change their method for how that they are living in the industry. It's not everything where they see be good and they say buy. No. Let them take care of their head first of all before they're doing anything. For that one who dies, it's out of indoor to instead of bring herself out to speak. I'm not feeling fine. No, please let us Nigeria help her. He just keep quiet. He died. Rest in peace.
All right, many thanks. All right, many thanks for your contribution on the topic at hand. Coming back to my question about, you know, the contingencies of just writing a will. You know, it doesn't have to be perpetual buildings or, you know, and all of that. I just feel that the demise of your loved ones, you know, having been comforted with the fact that, you know, there's something for you that can even help you cushion you finding your feet moving forward, you know. How do we advocate more for this?
So the thing is, I also think that this is where lawyers also need to, and schools, yes, schools need to make it important, making notes by talking to people.
Is it the school that they did not go?
So, yes, I'll tell you why. Because it is not a cultural thing for us here. You know, a man, when he lives, when he passes on, maybe he has a wife or two wives, you know, he knows that maybe the Olori Ebi, that's the head of the family, will come and divide the property. So it is a cultural thing for us here. So if it starts from the schools, the university, if the lawyers, the graduates come out and say, chief, this is why you should have a will, because you want to settle a dispute, because you don't want to have property that's tied down somewhere for years, because you don't want to have war between your family when you pass on. The schools, the lawyers, the institutions should come out and make these things important. You can see, for example, if you want to buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, you know, all those things that they sell to people that are well-to-do. These are some of the angles that these institutions come from. They'll say, hey, if a rich man wants to keep his money, these are the places that he multiplies his money and he keeps his money. And that is how you sell the idea of, you know, wills to individuals that can afford it, whether young or old. If you have a certain type of asset that's of value, you know, it should be sold by these institutions to the individuals that need it.
All right, many thanks again for that. So now I would like to touch on this harassment that comes with being a famous person, because I know that the artists, they face a whole lot of this, even behind cameras. You know, they go out often and face all sort of razzmatazz from people, from fans, harassing them. Even sometimes you see how a policeman, you know, I don't like to gaslight the policeman because, you know, I'm from a police family, you know. You know, but yeah, I must keep it real, you know, with this, you know. What's your take about this? Because we also saw how cute Mohbad Abiola also faced all of this, even during the burial ceremony and the likes, you know, that we saw online, how people have been dragging them and all of that. How do we actually advocate for work-life balance? How do we, you know, talk more on this, especially having a good support system that can actually, you know, look out for you when you're going out and the likes and all of that?
So the problem is, for Nigeria, it will take a while, and there's no way around it. It comes down to education, because even you, when you step out of you know, this show right now, and you're going on the streets, and people recognize you, the so-called Agbe Rosera boys will mob you, and say, "Give me money."
I was shocked, though.
Yes.
In London, that people were just stopping me and be telling me talk. I said, that brings more money than you talk. Oh, I take that back so that my sponsors will not. You know, but I was shocked actually when people stopped and I was like, really? That way I cannot just dress shabbily and just say I want to enter the store and just quickly pick a glass of wine or whatever. I know that kind of a thing.
You can't. So here in Nigeria, people have this entitlement mentality. You know, yeah, you have some money with you and you're popular already. You step outside in a supermarket. If you park your car alone, you are expected to pay money. You know, and if you give them as little as 500, as little as, you know, it becomes a problem.
It's sad. It's sad that we are still facing such challenge. I just feel that it's just time for us to just put a good system in place to, you know, try to look out for us, no matter how much we want to try to, you know, follow the Western world and all of that. I think it's key. But moving away from that, you know, the controversy that I also feel that I need to bring to fore, without this, without not touching on it, it's as good as we've not had a good balance on the topic at hand, because I know that there have been a lot of fallout with Naira Marley, you know, making rounds on social media. You know, Naira Marley has also said that they said all sorts, you know, and we've seen all kinds of video, you know, yes, says allegedly and the likes and all of that. There is an iota of truth, if you ask me, in any rumor that is going on out there, you know. So do we have any insight to all of this right now, especially with Naira Marley, Mohbad and the likes, you know, even the beat up that they did to Mohbad before he died, you know. More importantly, I think that I also want to touch on the fact that, you know, between artists and record labels, that how come things become irreconcilable when everybody wants to just say, I want to go my way?
So for taking it from where Naira Marley and you know, Mohbad, the situation going on between them, after the 2-year relationship, when they broke up, when the relationship, they went their separate ways, you know, people started, there was a lot of harassment from Naira Marley's camp. And I think this is because, in as much as it was a formal agreement, it was also an agreement between two friends that I'm going to sign you to my record label, you make money for us and other things. So that is why there's a lot of harassment. And I don't know the full details of why there was a breakdown in their contract, but constantly, even after he left the label, there was harassment, and he came out and talked about it on social media and other platforms as well. And now Naira Marley is facing the backlash. Even if the death is not associated with some of those harassments, people have seen those harassments over time, and they're trying to, the backlash now is on Naira Marley. The reason why record labels cannot, you know, reconcile their differences sometimes is because there's been a lot of public bad blood, and sometimes the differences might not be reconcilable. For example, some people that had bad blood over time but settled is someone like Yaya and what's his manager's name now? Will be Franklin. There was a fight publicly.
We see Banky W2 and Whiskey.
And Whiskey, but they settled.
But they settled.
You know, there was Brimo and MI, but there was some settlement at some. They didn't work together again, but there was some settlements. But just, there are some people that it just is not reconcilable, and it comes when there's so much media interference. I
think not just media interference. I feel that it's also about the entitlement. They feel entitled to everything, especially their work and all of that, because of the talents that they have, which is where I feel that it's also with the fact that, you know, so most of them, they are half-baked in education. Pardon my word, I just try to keep it real on this platform as much as I can, you know. So how do we move forward now when it comes to the fraction, the gang fights, you know, everybody pitching tents with one person or the other? What do you think that we really need to advocate more for something like this to stop, because I know that there are still quite a number of people who are still facing the same challenges, who are still going through the same similar situation.
Yes.
But people are trying to just say, let me be careful, so that they will not send another person to my home and to come and attack me and all of that. How do we move forward legally in a way that people can just move on peacefully? The sky is big enough for everybody. There is no work today that we are all doing that somebody else have not done before.
True.
That the history, I'm wondering.
History always repeats itself.
So what's the biggie? If you are a journalist, I'm a journalist. Our target audience can be different. So how do we advocate for this to understand that the sky is big enough, and when it's time for us to go, can we actually go peacefully? So
the first thing I would say is, to artists out there, honor your agreements. Okay, if you sign 5 years, do the 5 years, do the time. Even if you signed a slave contract, do the 5 years that you signed. But you yourself should do your due diligence by checking the contracts that you're signing. Check it first. But if you have agreed to it, then see it to the end, and then know that, okay, in that time, I'll do what I'm required to do. And then when the next contract comes, or if I don't want to sign again, I move on and I build my career further. So honor your agreements. Also, record labels try not to cheat people out of their money. We see that a lot. Record labels make a ton of money, and they give you a tiny amount of money, and and they give you maybe a little apartment. Because imagine if somebody has sold a record of almost 100 million, and you give the person 2 or 3 million. How do you want the person to survive? How do you want the person to feel? Because I'm walking on the streets, people are asking me for money. I'm going to events and the clubs, I'm paying for things that I cannot afford.
I've been elevated.
Elevated in a status. And the record labels should see that if this artist is suffering, it's also bad for their own image as well. So record labels don't cheat artists. Artists, honor your agreements and do the right thing when you're supposed to do it.
And understand that legal actions bring about peaceful settlement. I think that's the last word I would like to end this segment with. And I want to say many thanks again, Kayode Bakare, for all that you've shared thus far. And I hope that those who are listening to us right now will actually, learn 1 or 2 things for them to guide themselves. And it's not just only in the music industry. I feel that it cuts across any industry that you find yourself. You have to be careful with what you're signing before coming on board. On this note, I think this is where I like to move to the last segment of the show that we call Trending Stories. These are stories that binds you and I together as Nigerians. And the first trending story is also similar to what is on ground right now, which is about the DJ Wise, and he says that he wants to end it all on social media yesterday. Apparently it was even what's it called, my guest yesterday, Kenny Black, that actually called our attention to it when I was about wrapping up the show, saying if he's allowed to say this, and I was like, come on, nothing must happen to him. But quickly, before I come for your submission, this is what I have to say. I've been following DJ KY's story for a while now. I don't know how he approached it. I do not like how he approached it, especially in this period of sensitive laws and the likes and all that. Some may think that he wanted to is it cloud chase? Yeah, or chase clouds, so to speak. Yeah, I want to just think that it's real, because I've seen other videos yesterday, before going to bed, on what actually transpired, and his struggles, with that has been persistent. And I hope that his close family and people have reached out to him. But he has mentioned something that I feel that is a bit sensitive to me, if you ask me. It's about family, family issues, and it has caused a big family drama for him, especially finding a balance with his career and the woman that is with him. He has a clash with his twin brother, he said in the video. He also said that they lied upon him, that he slapped his mother. He said his parents are pastors that I've also digged that I know of. I just feel that I know that they blame the issue on women a lot, when things like this happen, when there are family issues. Any woman that is with the man, they say, hey, is this woman, is this girlfriend, is this partner, is this, when issues are ongoing like this. So I don't know why our culture are quick to actually blame the significant other of each other when the issue arises, and all of that. But until after they went to police station, according to DJ Wise, that his family actually came publicly to address it after 8 months or so, or thereabout, if I'm correct, and he said that that a whole lot he cannot share. And I also feel that there are quite a number of things that should remain behind cameras, no matter what. We live in a generation when I feel that family or blood can also cause us pain. It can cause you pain, even damage you. if you are not careful. So you may need, to cut off ties with them to maintain your own sanity. Yes, I'm an advocate for that. Yes, we may need to also know that you need to draw the line with them, because I feel that family also comes with a lot of entitlement. There's nothing you can do for them. Yes, so I try to be real. So I just feel that we all have our own family drama here and there and all of that. There's no perfection anywhere. So you must choose your own family while you're on earth. We cannot choose the people that will come into family ties with and all of that. But while you're on earth, choose the people that gives you, good health, mental health, good well-being and all of that. So choose your family carefully on earth and understand that we need to, let me emphasize it, create our own family on it. It's important. I just want to really create, there are times that you might be working with somebody in your office and that person, you might find family in them and all of that. That's enough for you. We need to let them know that they are not here for you forever and you are not there for them forever and all of that. You must find your feet. Yes, especially with the fact that the ones that did not actually raise you, I feel that there are a lot of parents that they did not raise the child, but because the child is not doing well, that is why we want to associate with them and say something. And the likes are, I just feel that all of this is real. But when the relationship goes sour, and it gets toxic, be ready to just save yourself, because that is the only thing that I can say with all that is said yesterday. And finally is the fact that we should also learn how to be diplomatic with family affairs. We must be diplomatic with family affairs. They are reaching out to you doesn't mean you have to pick their calls. Yes. How much you share on social platform also is very important on online, because of the end of the day, family will remain or will always be family. So you don't want a situation that you regret sharing certain things. So for the best of your family and yourself, your career, your sanity, my dear, just cut off stars till they are ready to act right.
No, definitely. I don't even know how to top what you've said, because you've definitely said everything. Really, you can find family in your colleague or in your friend, and you can build bonds and blood ties with those kind of people, because you can't really choose the family that you come from. And it's important that your sanity in the world we live in today. We only have one life to live.
Yes.
So just choose your friends wisely, choose your life wisely, and everything will fall in place the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. Many thanks again, Kade Bakari, for that submission right there. And I think that the last seconds, I would like to tilt towards the fact that it's second trending for me, and it's the fact that I would like to end the show with one of Mohbad's songs and his 8 songs of title Feel Good. But before they play that, I think that watching, in fact, if you see how I've listened to the songs all through today, early this morning, I was blasting at the very hour. But the lyrics of this Feel Good actually touched me more, because first of all, Imole, like he likes to refer to himself. Yes. I feel that he has several powerful messages, because I know that the songs of today, they are not evergreen. They have no meaning. There's a show do this and the likes, and there's nothing substance that you can listen to. But this Feel Good, I love it. I repeated the play back to back. He emphasized on the importance of persistence in the face of adversity, encouraging listeners to persevere despite numerous challenges that might come our way. We all have challenges. Some people always feel that my life is perfect. My life is not perfect though, but the song promotes self-belief and confidence as well, urging individuals to trust in their own abilities. And it also reminds us that pain will eventually subside no matter what. I always tell people, when issues come, I just say, Kike, what's the lesson to pick from this? Additionally is the lyrics for me, because I feel that it touched on the value of self-care, suggesting that taking a break and enjoying the moment, enjoying life, it's very simple. The pleasure that comes with life can offer you solace, during tough times. And finally, the fact that I feel that the song also celebrates the significance of maintaining a positive attitude. Even when confronted with difficulties, like I said earlier, and finding moments to enjoy life, and positivity in life and all of that. With all of this, I just feel that is a great way to just end today's show, for us to hear one of his hits that I actually love this song, Feel Good. All right, let's watch this. Stay with me. We'll be right back. All right. Many thanks again for staying with us. It's so really painful. I'm trying to control my thoughts. I do not want to cry. I just feel that his songs that are evergreen right now. There are lots of songs from him that I feel that I can compare with Asha and all of that. And I must say that my message is right. Is the fact that I feel that most of them have to be conscious of the kind of content and the lyrics that they want to leave behind for the next generation to come and all of that. What's your take on this?
Oh, definitely. Like you mentioned, before the break, you talked about how some Nigerian artists don't really talk about anything. Their contents don't make any sense. So contents like this, like the song that we just listened to, Feel Good, brilliant message. It's going to live on through time. It's like what we call timeless, right? 10 years from now, 20 years from now, people will still make reference to the song. In fact, I won't be surprised if another artist comes to remix the song and makes something more out of it. So yes, it's important to leave contents that are meaningful, that have value, that can last over the years. A good example of that is African Queen, Two-Face.
You are my African queen. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much. Of course, it has been an interesting time today on Real Talk with Kike edition. Babe, courtesy you, my resourceful colleague, friend, brother, Kade Bakare. Many thanks for lending your voice on the issue that affects us all, because it concerns and it cuts across all industries and all of that. With that, I want to say to people that remember to be kind to one another. Put a smile on somebody's face, regardless of the challenges you might be facing. And bye now. See you next week.